Hello everyone, welcome to another video. My name is Ralli Roots, and myself, along with my lovely wife Allison and our good friend Callie, the three of us are a team of online resellers. So basically all that means is we buy stuff for one price, like these sunglasses, and then we'll mark it up and sell it online for a profit. That's what we've done full-time for the past 8 years, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you 31 sales that we had on eBay in January. So today is February 1st of 2024, and I figured I would share with you some of our favorite sales from past month. There were 31 days in January. We're going to share one sale a day for the whole month of January. And how I'm going to do today's video is I'll share with you some sales that we had and tell you how much we paid for them. And then we'll jump over to Callie, because Callie just did some shipping for us over the weekend, and she's going to share with you some of our sales. And then we'll jump over to Allie, and Allie's going to share with you some items that she found that we flipped on eBay for a profit. And then one more thing before we jump into today's video. If you are new here, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you like today's video, please hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing to the channel. And then also, a lot of people have been asking about our reseller group, our mentoring group. We are going to reopen it again in March. So I believe March 1st, we're going to open it back up again. It's currently sold out, but if you want to join the wait list to get involved in that group, all you have to do is just go to ralliroots.com or click the link in the description of today's video and just put your name and email address in, and then we will email you when spots open back up. It is limited, so if you want to join, put your name and email in on ralliroots.com, and we will shoot you an email when spots open up. And then the last thing I want to say before we jump into the actual meat and potatoes of today's video, the sales that we had, the last thing that I want to say is keep in mind, like, we have been doing this full time for 8 years, but we're not special. And one of the reasons why I like to make What Sold videos like this is so that if you guys are flipping stuff online, if you're out at thrift stores or yard sales or estate sales or wherever you like to source, if you're out there and you see some of these items, you'll know that they're good items to resell. This is how I learned when we first started reselling, and not so much from YouTube videos, but I would watch shows like American Pickers, and I would watch what they were buying and keep that in my head so that if we were ever out there looking for stuff, I knew, okay, this could be a good item to purchase. So if you want to, you can take notes or you can just rewatch the video back again. But I'm going to show you 31 items that are good resellable items. And I can say that with confidence because we sold them ourselves on eBay. You can go and fact check any of these items I'm about to show you, and you can see that we actually sold the items for the prices that I'm going to mention. Okay, let's jump into some of these sales. The first item I'm going to share, we found this pair of vintage Tommy Hilfiger jeans, which have they go through ups and downs, but they've kind of come back up again. Y2K 2000s clothing, very popular again. We found this pair at a local flea market. I paid $7 for the pair, and they sold very quickly for right around $59. It was like, what, $58.87. And we also list most of the time with free shipping on, so keep that in mind when you're watching today's video. I'll go over the numbers at the end of the video to show you how much money we actually made on the items after fees and shipping and everything, but just keep that in mind as you're watching this. If we sold an item for $59, that's not money in our pocket. We still have to take out fees and shipping and other expenses and the cost of goods, which in this case, we paid $7 for this pair, and again, sold for $59. Item number 2, this is a good Bolo brand. The brand is called Dixon. I found this shirt in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado, when we were doing a little thrift trip out there, and I want to say I paid like $13 or $14 for the shirt. It sold for $60. Took a little bit longer than I expected to sell, but some Dixon items are worth more than others. This particular shirt sold for $60, which is still a good flip. 13, 14 into $60. Still a nice flip. Here's an interesting one. I am not that big into hard goods. Allie's been learning a lot about hard goods recently, so she's good at it, but I do know what a swung vase is now. I learned recently, and we've done really well selling them. So I picked up the swung vase at an estate sale. I paid $5 for it, and it flipped very quickly for $50. One thing that we like to do with our items, like our hard good items, is we'll take a ruler and take a picture of the ruler next to the item so that people can see exactly how big that item is. It's one thing to like describe it in the description, but it's another thing. People are typically, visual buyers, so they like to see a ruler next to the item. We found that does help with sales. And then speaking of hard goods, let's jump over to Allie now, to my wife Allie, and she's going to tell us a few items that she found and flipped on eBay recently.
I found some things and they sold and they did well. Go me. weird things like these Victorian dollhouse dolls. I know that dollhouse dolls are worth money, and we were at a rummage sale at a church, and they were just there and they were really cheap. I think it was $3 for all of them because each individual box was $1. And I figured, let's take a chance on it because I know that stuff is worth money and these are really high quality ones. And they ended up selling for $50. So $3 and $50, and I'm pretty sure it was first class shipping. That's a yes from me, dog. These porcelain cows, the brand is, I believe, Gumball Machine, but I found them at a garage sale. I know that people like these and collect them. We've seen them before. I've looked up comps on them, but because there were two, I bought them because we wanted to lot them together to get our ASP up, and we sold the pair of two for $39.40. A vintage wacky races pillowcase. I was digging through all of the linens at an estate sale because everyone sleeps on linens. Jacob Starr gets credit for saying that because he's the one who said it first that I heard it from. I don't know if he got it from somebody else, but found this pillowcase, thought it was really cool. Pillowcases are always like a fun, easy thing to grab. I grabbed it for myself. Everything was allotted together for like a cheap price, so maybe we paid $1 for it. And the pillowcase, Ryan looked it up, it happened to be worth money, and we sold it for $30, which is crazy to me because it's just a single pillowcase. But there probably aren't that many of these pillowcases left because I'm pretty sure it's 70s. Yeah, it's 70s. This is an item I normally don't research or pick up or grab, but I found these vintage Artcraft glasses at a garage sale, and I was looking at them and thinking, wow, these are really, really cute. I bet you somebody likes them, and I had never seen this brand before. Did a quick little look up, realized it could be worth good money, and I figured, all right, let's, buy these and see what happens kind of a deal. And they sold for a surprisingly solid amount of money. They sold for $69.94, which is nuts. Thank you, Callie, for listing them high. I feel like that perceived value is in that listing there because I don't know what the other comps were, but I don't remember them being worth that much whenever I was looking up comps. And now someone sees that and they go, oh, these must be really nice at that price. It's kind of like what Lululemon started off doing. But anyways, yes. So almost $70. Really, really good sale. Tokidoki bag. This Tokidoki bag sold for $52, and it's more of a tote Tokidoki bag. I know this brand just because somebody sent me something really cute, and then I started researching the brand in the past. The t-shirts and the plushies, depending on the item and the rarity and the limited edition and how many people want it at that moment in time, can be worth good money. And then I found a Tokidoki bag for the first time before this one, I believe. I don't think this is my first Tokidoki bag that I found, but I knew that they were worth a decent amount of money. And I don't remember how much we paid for this now, but it sold for $52, which, first class shipping, $52. Heck yeah, that's great. I'm emotionally attached to this item because my mom bought it for me whenever I was young, and we didn't grow up with much money. She was always struggling, pinching pennies. We lived with family, like my grandparents, for a really long time because living, with 3 kids on your own is really hard. And my parents were together and separated often, which is fine because they figure things out and everyone gets along now and everyone's it was a happy family. But that being said, I really appreciated that my mom bought us a couple of nice things. An offer came in on this item for $275. And Ryan's like, this is a really good offer, but I don't want to let it go for $300. So I made a counter offer after I thought about it for 2 hours of $315. And I said, this is a personal item. My mom bought it for me whenever I was young. I'm a little emotionally attached for it. I won't let it go for less. And they instant accepted it. So I think that they just wanted to see how much they could get off because I did look at comps and comps were crazy. They were $350 to almost $500 depending on the condition and everything that was included. And mine was pretty on par with those. So this person I think got a fair price. And I think that we got a fair enough price for me to happily depart from this game. And I'm going to give my mom all the net profits on this. So I'm really excited about it. So thanks, Mom. These Vibram 5-finger shoes, Ryan told me I found these. I don't even remember finding these. I know that I find stuff like this and I'm like, oh yeah, we should grab these. I don't remember how much we paid for them, but we sold it for $37.75, probably because the condition on them was really, really good. These shoes are really great if you don't have a pair. you should get some, or at least try some out, or ask a friend, because really, really nice shoes. And there's a reason why they resell, is because they're great shoes. So if you ever come across these, this is kind of like a bolo. We come across them often enough to say it's a bolo item. So definitely look out for them. And if they're in good enough condition, get them for the right price. Last but not least, a very typical alley item. We were at an estate sale and they had all of these really cute vintage items in the living room area mixed in with all the Christmas decor. They had other holiday decor. So typically what I like to do, and you should also look out for vintage Halloween items, because people love Halloween and people love vintage Halloween items. Came across these vintage bunnies, and the brand on 2 of them was Chalkware. And then I think the other 2, they weren't really worth selling alone. So I said, well, let's add value to that single listing of the 2 Chalkware bunnies and add the other ones in there, because they were very reminiscent of them. Like, they could have been Chalkware whenever you just like look at them. And if you don't specialize in that product, you wouldn't know any different. But they're really cute. They're really beautiful. I wanted them for myself. I told Callie to list them high. She did. They sold for $65. I was going to use them for Easter, but they sold, and I'm really happy they sold. And again, like a really weird item, but I knew I loved them, and I figured somebody else will, and they'll go for decent money. And as long as stuff that I'm finding goes for over $45, we know that there's a good margin on it. And these went for $65, so that's a pretty great margin. And I think I paid $5 for all of them, maybe $6 for all 4 of them. And that's everything I found.
Okay, back to me. The next item that I'm going to share with you is a vintage hockey jersey. And this was a cool one. I found this I think I found it at a flea market. I've had this one for a little while, but I think I found it at a flea market for like $5 or $6. And I listed this item. I had a lot of interest on it. I had this one guy who was like asking a bunch of questions, and then he offered $100. I said $125, and we were just going back and forth. And you know, like sometimes when you have one of those buyers who you can tell like there's going to be an issue. He was like nitpicking everything and trying to get a discount. And by the end of it, I was just like, hey, listen, man, if you don't want it for $125, I'm not negotiating down anymore. So if you don't want it, then just don't buy it and somebody else will buy it. And the funny thing is, it ended up selling for $160. So I made more money by not dealing with that person and just waiting for the right buyer to come along. And that's a tip I can give you. Sometimes you just have to wait for the right buyer to come along. The next item I'll share with you, one of my favorite items to find, and they've actually been going up in value recently. Vintage Wrangler shirts, the pearl snap shirts. They sell great. I found this one at a local thrift store for $1. There's a thrift store that we go to where everything's $1, and I found this on the rack for $1, and it sold very quickly for $38. So the pattern does matter, the size matters, and the condition matters. But if you can find a nice pattern, either short sleeve or long sleeve, with those nice pearl snap buttons, we usually get between like $30 to $50 for vintage Wrangler shirts. I have to throw at least a couple vintage t-shirts in the What Sold video. So this particular one is interesting to me because I bought it in a wholesale lot, knowing that it had dry rot. And if you don't know what dry rot is, it's basically the black dye that they used for shirts usually in the 90s. The dye that they use, if you didn't wash that dye out of the fabric, it would deteriorate the cotton to the point where it just rips, right? So it's called dry rot. You can test it by just pulling out the shirt and seeing if it rips, then it has dry rot. But this particular Pink Floyd shirt, the graphic is so good and it's such a desirable piece that I still decided to buy it. I paid $200 for it in a wholesale lot, and I sold it for $400. So I still doubled my money on the sale. Obviously, when I sold it, I made sure to include all the details about it. I told the buyer that it does have slight dry rot. We did wash it twice just to make sure it wasn't like really, really bad dry rot. And we put that in the description as well. But this is a good example to show you that even if an item has damage, if it has the value, you can still resell it for profit. And then one more vintage t-shirt sale before we jump over to Callie, and she's going to show you some more items that sold for us recently. So this was an interesting one because the buyer reached out, and is a Jethro Tull shirt, I think 79, 70s, yeah, 70s. Good size extra large. He offered $100 on one shirt. I accepted the offer. And then we had another one listed on eBay. So what I did is I reached out to the buyer and I said, hey, I noticed you bought this Jethro Tull shirt. Would you be interested in this one as well? Because, I mean, a shirt like that is going to a collector, not to a reseller. And it was the same size. So I sent him the listing and he said, how much could you do for it? I offered him a little bit of money off because he had purchased the other one, and he bought it. He bought this shirt for $100 and then this one for $135. So I turned a $100 sale into a $235 sale just by messaging the buyer and letting them know that we had another shirt in the same category that he liked. All right, now let's jump over to Callie, and she's going to share some more eBay sales with y'all.
What's shaking, everybody? Welcome back to Ralli Roots on the YouTubes, and I've been tasked with showing you some of the stuff we sold over the weekend on eBay. So let's get into it. All right, up first we had a lot of 3 Tesla tees. They were all the same size, so we listed them together as a lot. They sold for $27. And then we have this vintage Dooney and Burke leather purse, sold for $45. And then we have this nice pair of women's Columbia waterproof snow boots. Those sold for $54.87. And then we have a pair of Solomon snowboarding pants, new with tags. Those sold for $67.05. And then we've got this vintage Can-Am motocross jersey made in the USA. It's nice and old. It had some flaws on it, but we still got $169 for that. And then the last one I'm going to show you is this vintage Carhartt jacket. It's really nice, beautiful design on it. It's a nice, cool jacket, nice and warm. Sold for $325. Back to you, Ryan.
Okay, we are not done yet. I have 12 more eBay items that I'm going to share with you. And again, guys, if you are enjoying this video so far, maybe you've learned something that you didn't know. If you are enjoying the video, please hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment, because all of that stuff kind of helps the whole YouTube algorithm. It helps us. It lets us know that we're doing a good job, and then also helps get the video out to more and more eyes, which is good for everybody. The next item that I'm going to share with you is a vintage Coach purse, and it sold for a decent amount of money again. We've been doing really well selling vintage Coach purses, and we find them all the time at thrift stores. So this particular one was found at a Goodwill for $8, and we flipped it on eBay for $142.08. So if you see vintage Coach purses, not all of them are created equal. You need to find the model. Some are worth a lot more than others, but we've made hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars at this point selling vintage Coach purses. This next item is a huge shout out to one of my good friends, Chris, in the local area. We went out to garage sales with Chris. He's an awesome guy, and he has such a good eye for certain products. He told me to look out for case knives. I don't know a whole lot about knives, but he said this particular brand is a sought after brand and can be worth a lot of money. And like 2 days later, I found one at a garage sale for $8, and we flipped it on eBay for $110. Thanks, Chris. The next item up, this we actually got in one of the Amazon boxes. I'm not sure if you've watched our YouTube channel for a while now, but we bought like a whole ton of Amazon boxes, and we had no idea what was in them, these like big coffin boxes. But we were into each item in the boxes for around $5 a piece, so not a lot of money. And this item was in one of those boxes. It is a wetsuit, brand new with tags, and we sold it for $198.87. Unfortunately, this wetsuit is being returned to us. Sucks to get returns, but when the return came in, I was actually, I was pleasantly surprised, because the message that came with the return was funny. It made me laugh. I'll actually come back to this item at the end of today's video, and I just want to show you that return and the message, because I thought it was really funny, but I'll show it at the end of the video. This was another item from one of those Amazon boxes. It is a Barefoot Dreams Disney Frozen robe, like a robe with a little embroidery, I guess, on it from Frozen, Disney branded and everything. And again, $5 a roundabout on this item, and it sold for $50 on eBay. And I think what sold this item was probably the pictures. Allie modeled this item, and her toes were out, so people probably paid extra money to look at them toe beans. She's laughing in the background. I don't know, $50 for that foot finder picture is probably pretty good. Okay, next item up is an Arc'teryx shirt, and this was new with tags. I bought it in a wholesale lot, paid about $15 per item, and it sold on eBay for us for $56.19. The next item was a Goodwill find. I think I paid, I want to say it was $10. It might have been $9, like $8.98 or something like that. But really good brand to be on the lookout for. Dale of Norway sweaters, amazing brand. Some of these we've sold for hundreds of dollars. So definitely keep an eye out for this brand. This particular one wasn't worth as much as others, but we still sold it for $59. So $8 to $10 cost of goods into $59 of gross sales. One more vintage t-shirt that I had to include, mainly because of the size of this one. A lot of people think if it's a smaller size that it's not going to sell for as much money, and that's not true. People are built in all different shapes and sizes. So don't be afraid to list smaller sizes, because there's still buyers out there for stuff like this. And this particular one was cool because it was a 1983 U2 shirt. And look at the measurements, 18 by 30. So that's almost a dress. And that's what I'm thinking maybe the person who bought it is going to use it as. 18 is very small across, 30 is quite, quite lengthy. So they could literally take it, put it on, and maybe put a belt on it or something like that and wear it as a dress. And it sold for $137.50. The next item up we found at a garage sale. We actually bought a ton of these. We walked into the person's house and they were moving and they had all these Starbucks tumblers like lined up on one of the shelves. And we were like, yes, we want these. How much for all of them? And she was like, well, I have more if you want to, look at some more. So we ended up buying all of them together. And I think we paid like $8 to $10 per Starbucks tumbler, but they were all brand new. And we ended up taking some of them and lotting them together. And this was one of those cases. So this was 2 of them lotted together and they sold for $62.31. So we're into them for about $20 for this particular sale and sold for $62.31 minus shipping, minus fees. There's not like a whole lot of profit there, but we're still, at least tripling our money on a garage sale find, which is cool. 4 more eBay sales, and then I want to show you that return that came in. Okay, so next one up is another good brand, Vince. So you see this brand a lot for women's items, but this was a pair of men's Vince shoes and found them at a thrift store for $10. They sold for $78.82. So there's a good brand to be on the lookout for. Vince, not just the clothing, but the shoes, and not just women's, but men's as well. Shooting stuff and like outdoor activity stuff has been selling very well for us. This was a shooting vest. So, like if you go clay shooting or if you're hunting or something, it's one of those vests. You can put it on and keep your like shotgun shells and stuff in it. The brand is good. The brand is Beretta. The funny thing about this one is that it had local branding on it actually. So Fishhawk Community is a place that's like 15 minutes away from us. I've actually been to the clay range that this particular vest is from. Like it had Fishhawk clay shooting branding on it, which I thought was funny. But I mean, I found it at a local thrift store, so that does make sense. I paid $8 for it and it sold for $49.19. Here's one of my favorite things to sell still to this day. When we first started reselling, it was one of my favorite things to sell, and it's still one of my favorite things to sell. I call it black gold, and the item is printer ink. If you can find printer ink or printer toner, a lot of it can sell for a ton of money, and expired or not, it can still sell. So this particular item we found at a local estate sale. They had it marked at $10. And the other thing I like about it is that it flips so quickly. Most of the time when we list ink or toner, if it's listed for the right price, it's selling the same day. So we paid $10 for it and it's sold on eBay for $47.87. And then the last item that I'm going to show you is this Tory Burch bag. Tory Burch stuff, it's kind of come and gone. I mean, there's items that are definitely not worth as much money as they used to be, but the bags still seem to sell for decent money. This bag I picked up at a local flea market. I bought some shoes from the seller and then I noticed the bag was hanging up and I included the bag in with the deal. So for the bag, I ended up paying around $60 and it sold for $150. So really good flip there. The shoes that I bought also sold for a good profit. So altogether, it was a nice buy. Flea markets, great way to, go buy almost like wholesale. If you find the right vendors, you can do bulk deals and get good value for your money. Okay, and then I promised you that I would show you that return. It sucks to get that return. It's almost a $200 return, but it's okay. I mean, we can get it and then resell it again. And even though we do free returns on our items on eBay, our return rate is under 2%. So having that on does get us more sales and we don't get that many returns. But that's just for us, right? That's just our scenario. You have to test it yourself. It doesn't mean that doing free returns is right for everybody. It's just, it works well for us, But again, $200 return, it sucks. But the buyer's message, so it was returned for the item not fitting, but this is a youth kids wetsuit. And under the details, the buyer said, ordered according to Bear's sizing sizing chart, but it doesn't fit my long-legged beanpole daughter. When that message came in, I just thought like, oh man, poor girl. Like her dad or mom or whatever bought her this wetsuit, and then she tried it on, and she probably just went through a growth spurt, and she's all tall and lanky, and it just didn't fit. I felt bad, but it was a cute message to get, on a return. It made it not hurt as much. But anyway, guys and girls, there you go. There's 31 items that we've sold on eBay in January of 2024. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you picked up some good bolo items. And again, if you did, hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing. And also consider joining our reseller group that's reopening in March of this year. Love you all. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Later. Bye.